All right, so today is the 3rd. This week, we're going to continue looking at succession and populations. In the chat box, real quick, does anybody remember from last week what succession is? Put it in the chat box real quick if you remember what succession is. Yes, Matthew's got it. A change in a community over time. Suki said the development of ecosystems, sometimes after a natural disaster. So succession is how an environment changes over time. Okay, remember your expectations. Please remember to participate, whether you put it in the chat box or send me a private chat, whether we're answering a poll, and make sure you're involved. Make sure you attend all of your classes, read and respond to emails within 24 hours. Obviously, I don't expect you to do that over the weekend, but during the week, please do respond to those as soon as possible. Make sure to complete all assessments and assignments. Today is Tuesday. You had a nice long weekend. I hope you enjoyed your day off. Today, we're going to look at a lab for ecological succession. You're going to do the virtual lab. Whatever we don't get finished in class is homework. Tomorrow, populations. Friday, we're going to finish populations. And Friday, you have a quiz. If you notice, your quiz covers everything from this week, including the lab. So today, there's nothing that you turn in. You're not going to upload the lab for me today. You're going to use that information on your quiz Friday. I didn't want you to have to do two separate things. So we took the questions from the lab and inserted some of them to your quiz on Friday. So today, succession. It's the change in the community over time. Okay, if you either have a natural forest fire or you have the forest department that comes in and burns things off, okay, there's not much left after that fire. So we kind of have to start over again with small plants, mosses, small grass, simple things. Over time, okay, they get larger and more complex, shrubs, small trees. And eventually, a few hundred years down the road, you'll have some very large trees, and everything's kind of back to normal. We're going to quickly review these. Okay, this is from last week. This was from class, from your Canvas assignments. You have a poll coming on the board in just 1 second. There you go. Which statement best describes ecological succession? It is always caused by human intervention. It sometimes occurs after a disturbance. It always occurs in a predictable pattern, or it is a series of rapid changes in an ecosystem. Which of these best describes ecological succession? A, B, C, or D? You can answer in your poll. So I just said that it takes a few hundred years for it to reach back where it was, that climax stage. So definitely not D. Okay, secondary succession takes a few hundred years. Primary can take hundreds, if not 1,000 years to get fully developed. It's not always caused by humans. It could be. You saw the picture of the forest ranger with the fire. But it could also happen after an earthquake or a volcanic eruption, or after there's a disease in the fruit trees, or when a new predator comes in and eats all the small animals. And it's not always in a predictable pattern. Yes, it starts small things and gets bigger, but it's not always the same types of mosses or grasses or animals. Sometimes it starts from a rock, sometimes it's just a change in one or two of the species. But it almost always, sometimes, usually occurs after some kind of disturbance. A forest fire, an earthquake, a volcano, after a hurricane like we're seeing right now in the Bahamas. So you should, sorry, got to turn my phone down. In the poll, go away. There we go. What is the role, and you can put this one in the chat box for me, what is the role of a pioneer species in primary succession? You can answer number 2 in the chat. Pioneer species are the first species to inhabit an area after it starts going through succession. And the role of a primary species is to increase the diversity of a habitat, making the soil stable and fertile for other organisms to inhabit. So yes, it looks like those of you that answered in the chat box are on it today. It's to create the soil, to help it gain nutrients and absorb water, and to allow for other things to grow. For question 3, a factor in secondary succession. Glacial melting would be primary. Competition's normal. We like competition. So we're left with clear cutting and predation. Predation is the process by which one animal preys on others. Clear cutting would be where farmers or loggers go in and cut out an area of trees. I didn't ask you to do a poll for this one because there's technically 2 answers. Both of these are I don't know why that happened, sorry. Both of these are acceptable. After we clear cut a forest, it's definitely going to have to go through succession to regrow those trees. But also predation, if we have let's say a new species of wolf that somebody lets go, maybe you bought it as a pet and then you realized it wasn't a good pet, and you let it go in the woods around your house and it starts killing all the bunny rabbits, there's going to have to be some succession to figure out the new lineup of a food chain, to figure out new organisms there, new small animals. Maybe there's something that's going to kill the wolf. And so both of those can lead to succession. New stuff for today. In just a second, not yet, you're going to watch warm-up and instruction, read the lab, and I'm going to show you how to access that, and do the virtual lab in Canvas. Using your handout, collect the data. There's a reflect and a summary. Keep the lab. You do not turn it in today because you have a quiz on Friday. I know that's a lot of stuff, so we're going to break it down step by step. First, you're going to go to modules and today's date. It says ecological succession. I want you to take about 15 minutes to complete the warm-up and instruction. I want you to do warm-up and instruction. And it says you have a notes guide to complete as you go. If you want to use the notes guide, It's right underneath today's date where it says slides, lab sheet, and notes. You can open that to complete. Again, that's not something I take up. It's for your information. And it helps you study for the quiz because it does outline some of those main points. I'm going to set a timer for about 15 minutes, so it's about 1:50. In the meantime, if you get done before that, please come back and give me a thumbs up or a check mark so I know that you're ready to move on. All right, I'm going to set a timer. We're going to meet back in about 15 minutes, and I'll give you the lab sheet and show you what to do with the lab. I'm here if you have questions or problems. Right, so even if you're not quite finished, still come back over. Okay, take a minute, pause where you're at, minimize it, flip back over to our classroom. So you looked at the warm-up and instruction. Hopefully you had the chance to finish, but if not, it stays there so that you can still go back and finish. Next, we're going to look at your lab. And I'm going to put the link in the chat box for you. You can also go in Canvas under today's date to upload or to download our lab sheet. When you open the lab sheet, okay, it's going to ask you if you want to make a copy. Yes, you need to make a copy. You can't edit mine because it changes it for everybody. So you need to make your own copy, and it will save it to your Google Drive. That way, when you get ready for the quiz Friday, all you have to do is open your Google Drive and your lab sheet's right there. So we're going to take about 12 or 14 minutes on this part. Okay, I want you to number one, open the lab sheet from chat or Canvas. It is a Google document, and since everybody has a Google email, you can open it, save it to your Google Drive, and then you can edit it there. I didn't use a PDF this time because I know we had issues last time, so everybody can open the Google document. You can go in Canvas under today's date, or you can use the one out of the chat box that I just shared with you. Same document. Once you do that, you're going to use it to complete today's virtual lab. You do not have to upload the lab sheet or turn it in to me today. You're going to use this lab sheet on your quiz on Friday. Okay, so complete today's lab. Then there is a, let's see what it's called. A reflection and a summary for you to complete. So you've got 3 things. Number 1, open this lab sheet right now. Make sure you can open it. Please don't message me at 10:59 Friday night trying to figure out how to open this Google Doc, okay? Because I might be asleep and then you're going to miss the deadline. Okay, so go ahead and open your document from the chat or Canvas. Use it to work through and complete today's lab. If you didn't get to finish on the instruction, you need to finish that, then move on to the lab. You do not turn it in today. You're going to use it on your quiz Friday. After that, there's a reflection and a summary. We've got about 10 minutes to work, and then that last minute, like at 2:04, I want you to flip back over and I will wrap up and get you out the door on time. Okay? I'm here if you have questions or if you have problems. The lab sheet that you're working on, no, you do not have to turn it in. Now, we took the questions from it and incorporated them into your quiz on Friday. So you're going to go ahead and do the lab so that you have all of those answers, and then some of those questions will be on your quiz Friday. I'm going to set a timer for about 9 minutes. That last minute or so, I will wrap up and get you out of here. I'm here if you have questions or problems or you need help. All right, so as promised, I'm going to get you out of here right at 2:05. Today, your homework to finish in Canvas, finish up today's lab and the reflection and summary. Remember, you will not turn it in right now, but you do have a quiz on Friday, and it covers everything that we've done this week, including the lab. All right, so make sure that before you take your quiz, you have completed the lab and the lab sheet. Finish today's Canvas, and that you have your lab sheet in Google Docs ready to go, so when you take your quiz, you can flip over to it. That is it. Remember to get your lab and your lab sheet done. Otherwise, you are free to go. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll hang out a few more minutes if you have questions or problems.